Hey guys, welcome to the RoundTable. Here at the RoundTable, we continue the conversations that we have had from Sunday morning and how you can have practical ways to help every person take their next steps towards Jesus together. Hey guys, welcome to this episode of the RoundTable. It is episode 44.
Yeah, I was going to see. We didn't even check that
I know.
beforehand if you remembered.
But I did. I remembered.
Good for you.
We have our guest today is Chris Jackson.
Yay.
Yay.
See, this is when we need our producer to have clappy hands.
I thought this was a
what
long
happened to our
time
clappy
coming.
hands?
We do.
What happened to them?
I don't
They
know.
disappeared. Our
There's
little-
one.
Oh, they're sitting over there.
They're very
Plastic
bright.
clappy hands.
We never use them anymore.
No,
So
no. And we
you
even got a
don't.
sound machine from your aunt.
Yes.
And we never used the sound
that's
machine.
packed away.
Huh?
It's packed away.
Because you lost it. I gave it to
No,
you,
it's not.
and then you lost it.
I don't lose things.
Okay.
Is it in your office?
It is my. What is so funny? I don't.
Anybody that knows Jenny would know that losing things isn't like a common thing.
I know,
for her.
but I don't lose it for long. See, there's a difference because
Okay.
you can lose it for like a really long time and then lose it for like 10 minutes.
Okay.
There's
So
a
you're gonna
difference.
so you're gonna tell people why do we do the round table?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Okay, so we do the round table. I can't handle Nick when he laughs. Okay, you do it.
It's okay.
We do it to provoke
That's
a conversations around the table, these little tables that we
Yes.
have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
to bring in the message from Sunday and relate it to personal history.
Personal history.
Yeah, I like that word. I don't know. Testimony. We get to know our
Personal life.
guest.
And we got some like new segments. We're
Yes,
gonna
we
start
do.
Talking about current events.
Yep, it's going to be deep.
Yeah. Yeah. So having people like weigh in. Did anybody weigh in after last week?
I don't think so, but I don't think we really had asked them to do that.
No, I don't
Maybe
know.
we
It's
should do that since we're going to make it a thing.
No, I just
because
think
they
it's
really
kinda
liked
fun,
it.
You know, but we better get ready for the
You
comments.
better get
'cause
ready.
It's going to be
very opinionated.
Yes.
Right? This might be the first time that the podcast gets some like, hey.
Maybe. Hey, controversial stuff on YouTube does real well.
No, I don't mind controversy.
Let's do it.
Huh? Yeah. Listen, I love conflict.
I know you do.
No, I
Do
can't.
you?
No.
Yeah.
No, I
You're
am
not a confrontational person. Me either.
Yeah, I'm for
Unless
sure,
I have to
because
be.
conflict always makes us grow.
It does, and
It's
I
all
get
I
that,
love.
but it's not something that I like to do.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it when you can position each other in places of like, because part of the reason you don't have conflict is because you don't really say anything.
Well,
Not you personally,
other
but
than
people.
with Troy, I like to have conflict.
Is he easy?
Does Troy listen to the podcast?
I think they do.
Okay.
You know, they go back and look at them later. You know,
Okay.
but
Well, they're for sure going to watch it now.
Yeah. Well, he's going to be a guest in May.
oh, cool.
Is he really?
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
he is.
So
Okay,
he's
so
going
the
to pick
deal
on me
with
in
him
May.
is-
So
That's the day for sleeveless shirts.
For sleep. Why
Troy
will
has
he?
the
Oh, yeah.
biggest arms I've ever
Oh,
seen.
yeah.
Does he
in my
really?
life.
oh yeah,
What do you mean, does he really?
I
Have
mean,
you seen the
he
guy?
used to be an MMA fighter.
oh yeah, that's right, with a big head. Jennifer called him.
Skinny.
What?
Yes, Jennifer
What?
told him that he has a big head.
No. This really happened?
No, for real.
Yeah, we met last week.
Yeah. She called him a fat head, isn't that right? Or something?
didn't.
Yes, I promise. I promise.
He was like
Jennifer
super skinny,
Eller?
like probably what 180.
What?
Yeah.
just ripped.
Oh, like ripped.
Oh, when
Oh,
he
he
was
was ripped.
fighting,
But
he
his
was
head
really...
is the same size.
Yeah, so just so everybody knows, this is one of our worship leaders. If somebody
Yes.
reads
Yeah.
And so, if you didn't hear Barb say this, he was an MMA fighter.
Yes, he
So
was.
just be careful of your comments.
Yep. Be careful.
Maybe we should, since we're talking about it, maybe we should post a picture of
I know, that's what I'm thinking. I wish we had that picture.
Wait a minute.
ripped Troy.
I bet he would send us that picture. He's very proud of it, it seemed.
No, I would want to see it.
It
Too.
I
was
should have wore
amazing.
his HHH or HHR shirt or something.
His
What, is that
fighting
his
shirt?
fighting
It was
team?
his fighting team shirt. Yeah,
That's
I know.
amazing.
Can
Yeah.
we all get those shirts?
Oh my gosh,
I'll
that
have
would be
Keely make
amazing.
them for you.
Seriously, now I'm wearing a fighting shirt.
I want to wear a
I
fighting
want to be a
shirt.
fighter.
I
just
used to
don't
want to
wanna
be.
get hit by him.
I don't get
I mean, I've seen
anybody.
him, but I don't want to be hit by him.
He's probably going to get me when I get
No, I know. We need to get those
Probably.
and put them on there.
Yeah.
Put them.
We
so
all
that
wear
can
them
all
to
see
church
'em.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, and we can cut the arms off of it.
No.
Yeah.
You mean the arms or the sleeves?
I don't know. The sleeves.
Just cut
the
the
same
arms
thing. Same thing.
want
Arm
our
Cut the
sleeve.
arms off of
I mean, the
anything.
same thing.
Huh?
Same
Yeah,
thing.
no, for
Arm
sure.
arm spot.
Yeah, just, they always call, dude. Here, look, can you put your arm in the arm of your shirt?
Whatever.
Or
It just
yes,
made sense.
Are you wearing long arms or
Yeah,
you
are
wearing
they
short
long?
arms?
Whatever.
It's okay.
Long
It's okay.
arms.
But either
Jenny.
way, so
I'm
we
gonna
are
start
going to be
saying that.
talking about current events.
Yes.
You know, so that we can get
gonna
people
get intense.
weighing in, and not just current events for current events, but how they tie into, because this
they
is
do.
true. Culture does have an effect on Christianity.
Absolutely.
And culture has an effect on how we view Christianity, and culture will have an effect on how Christianity goes.
Right.
Right. Like it's because again, the thing that we have to remember is throughout all of Scripture it says this, but it's tend to go the opposite, which is that if you're a part of the world, you know, or if you're with God or on His side, the world will hate you.
Right.
Right. Where we've tended to be a people who just blend in with culture. Right. And because I doubt that there are too many Christians right now who I feel hated by the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Probably
Like I don't.
not.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody would be there. But Scripture says, if
Well,
you
at least
are-
not in this country.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah. 'Cause
we're
So I
not
don't know.
there
That
yet.
should be a red flag, though. I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, if culture, if we are against culture, regardless of what place we live in, you know, or the world. Because I don't think you'll convince me of this. I've said this before, and people are like, well, you know why the reason you're not hated in the United States? Because everybody's a Christian.
That is very true.
Frick?
A
There's
lot of
no
people.
way that that's
Oh
true.
yeah, just get on a dating app. They'll tell you. It's like everyone says Christian. Serious. Everybody says
Dating
Christian.
app would say
Yeah.
that you're a Christian.
Pretty much everybody. A
Hey,
lot of them.
I got something for you.
Okay.
Listen, dang it. I'm going to get off
You
the
have a
subject.
present?
No, but
Oh.
I
nugget?
thought of you the other day.
What
'cause I had
happened?
like 25 minutes before I needed to go somewhere.
Oh,
so
wow.
Like, I'm done watching Rust Valley Restores on Netflix.
Ooh,
you know,
okay.
where they take cars
Yep.
and rebuild them. Well, anyway, so there was this thing that was like Love is Blind.
Oh, that's a
So
TV show.
So I thought, I'm going to turn this sucker on. So I turned it on, and what it is people that sit
In the opposite room?
opposite rooms. They can't see each other.
Yes.
And over the course of however many weeks, they
Yep.
got to propose to that person and
they-
get married without knowing what they look like
Yeah.
or ever touching
Well,
them.
because because they choose between the people, so they sit in the room and they're like they switch it
Yeah,
up.
they interview a bunch of different people.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're getting to know them through the voice, through like the personality, but they never see them, so you can never like
Yes.
have that option of judging
Okay, that's
what
like
they
the
look
dating
like.
game back in the
That was back in
40s,
the day?
Oh my gosh,
50s
yes.
and 60s.
That
you know?
was.
There
Really?
was 3 people
Yep.
on the one
Yes.
side, 3 men, and then the one woman would come out and
I remember that
and
show.
they would ask. She would ask each one of them questions, and
But they could see
and
each other.
No,
They
there was a
couldn't see each
wall.
other?
There was a wall there.
Only
Wow.
the people in the audience could.
I
Yeah.
remember the dating game.
Yeah, it was the dating game.
How do you
That's
know
what it was
about the
called.
dating game?
Because it was on a game show I used to always watch. It wasn't that
You just
old.
Watch the reruns, right?
Oh. It seemed like it was on
Sure.
currently. I don't know. There was a murder or a serial murder on that show
Oh,
at one
what?
point.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
On the dating game.
Fun fact. Yes.
A fun fact.
I guess.
Is this?
Yeah.
I guess
Did he
we'll have
get
to
picked?
find out.
Did he get picked?
I don't know actually. I actually think he did.
You know, here's the funny thing. I don't know if you know this or not, but a lot of Jenny's fun facts aren't facts.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Just so we're on the same page.
But that
Right,
one
Nick?
is.
this not true? Jenny brings up a lot of facts that aren't
They're
facts.
just not true to you.
Yeah.
But they're
Her
true to
her
me.
record's not very good.
No. They're
so
true
far,
to
she's
me.
like, you want to know some facts? And I was like, oh, yeah, she says them. And then our producer researches them. And they're like, that's actually not a fact, but it was fun for you to say it.
No.
So it's fun to think that
They
there
just
might
like
have been
to
a
pick
serial
on you.
murderer.
No,
on-
actually, she's on the she's right.
Yeah,
on this
that's
one.
right. Uh-huh.
So
Was
I
that-
he
do know my
picked?
stuff.
Huh? Did he get picked?
I can't remember if he got picked. I think maybe he did.
Ooh, that's
But I do know that I'm pretty sure he was
Yuck.
sitting in the middle of the 3 because I remember watching this documentary.
Really?
I'm very
about the
visual.
serial-
I'm a visual. I can remember things.
Yeah. So either way, that was off the subject. But I thought, well, Jenny always brings up these dating apps.
What?
and we're like,
He won.
Yes, I knew it.
somebody picked a serial killer.
What was his name?
Don't you're not
That's
allowed to
really
say it.
desperate.
Why?
I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh, I really
Rodney
believed it.
Alcala,
What was his serial name? They always have a
the
name.
dating game killer.
That's right. It's on
The
Netflix. I
Dating
think,
Game
or
Killer.
Hulu.
Oh my
yeah.
God.
Dating Game Killer is on Netflix.
Documentary. Yes.
Okay, well, I guess we'll have to look that up.
Guess so.
Anyway, when you bring up the dating thing all the time, it's like, this would be perfect for Jenny.
The Love
I could
Blind
just see her, Love is Blind, her sitting on the other side of a pod.
I know.
Huh?
That'd be,
It'd
I think that'd be
perfect.
cool.
Yeah, you could pick your husband.
I would get to know him deeply.
Yeah.
I did go on a date on Saturday.
Yay, how'd it go?
It actually went really well.
Good. Did he
Yeah.
pick you up?
No, we met halfway because he lives in Indy, and yeah.
Did he pay?
Hey,
Did he pay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did he treat you well?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us any of his great
Well,
qualities?
I will say this. So I didn't really stalk him on any social media before, and I don't know why I just didn't. But then, I was sitting in my car waiting because he actually told me the wrong time on purpose, so I would show up like early, which I don't
Why?
know.
Because he always knew
Because
you were
I told
late?
him that I'm always late.
Okay.
And he said that he was leaving And it would take him less time for me by 10 minutes. And I show up and he's not there yet. And I'm like, what the heck? He should have been here by now. And when I had when we introduced, he had told me that it was because he told me the wrong time.
Well,
I have always wanted that, though.
What? Somebody to lie to you?
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
I
That's
know.
a great way to start a relationship. I've always wanted a man
knew he
that
was
will start
one.
off lying to me.
Yes.
Well, my husband was always late, and I used to tell him we had to be
Yes.
places an hour before we really
Nobody
did.
ever wants to do that for me. And
No, I know, but doesn't it sound funny, Jenny?
It does.
What I've always wanted in a husband
Yes.
someday is that he'll lie to
Yes.
me on the first date.
I knew the first moment that came out of his mouth when he said that. He was the one. But anyway, so I was sitting in my car waiting, okay? And this guy walks. So I knew what he looked like, but I feel like I just didn't in that moment because I saw this guy walk behind me. And he had like really long hair. He looked like a total hippie, and I was about to leave.
Because
I thought
you
I got
would not have done
catfished.
that.
Oh.
You got who?
I thought you don't know what catfished is? You ever seen that game?
Catfish hunter?
So no, it's like, okay, so catfish means that I would put a different picture of myself on a dating app, okay? And then I would show up and it would be me. So I would put you can do like heavily filtered ones, or I could be like Jessica Alba, I don't know, like a celebrity or something.
And this works out how? Because you actually have to see each other someday?
I know it doesn't make sense, but they have a whole like TV show on it.
Yeah.
Catfish.
So I thought I was getting catfish, and I was like, I knew it was about to happen. I knew my time was coming.
Okay,
but
but you
didn't.
met him. Tell me one great quality or great thing that you learned about him that would make it be like, this is worth a second date.
That he loves God.
Wow.
Oh, that's good.
Okay. Where's he go to church?
Well, so we just moved from Michigan down to Indy because of his dad is going through cancer.
Oh.
So he's there with them. So he's
Okay.
like in the process of finding a church.
Okay, good. Yay for Jenny.
Yay!
That's great.
She found a guy. I mean, he lies, but at the end of the day,
It's great.
The other qualities, taking care of his
Yes.
dad.
Yeah.
Loves God.
Yes.
So that was a good start.
Mm-hmm.
And did you use the dating app to find him?
I used the Christian dating app to find him.
Wow.
And he was the first person that I actually connected with on there.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Okay, so Barb, tell us a little bit about
Chris.
you before Chris. Why did I say Barb?
I don't
Who's
know.
Barb?
I look like a Barb.
No.
I don't
Who
know.
is Barb?
Wait a second. Did you say Barb earlier?
I never said
No,
Barb.
she didn't say Barb.
So tell me, Chris. I don't know how I got that. Anyway, Chris.
Barbara Streisand.
Who's Dyson?
I don't know. Isn't that the
I stand Streisand.
Streisand.
That's what I
Yeah,
meant.
How's
she's
it
a
say?
singer.
How do you say
She's
it?
Barbara Streisand.
Barbara Streisand.
Barbara Streisand.
I don't know. It's in a song that I know of her.
Yeah, she's a singer from back in the 60s.
I only know it from the 2010 song that they just made of her. It was like Barbara Streisand. You know what I'm talking about, Nick? You would.
Look her up.
Chris. Chris.
Umagoji. The Umagoji.
Got
That
it.
weird song. Okay, anyway.
Tell us a little bit about you before we just jump into current affairs.
Okay, so my name's Chris Jackson.
Yeah,
and,
not Barb. For crying out
And we're
loud.
and my nickname's Barb.
Yeah. That's where
It is from now on.
Yes, it is. Your new nickname.
I was married for almost 45 years, and my husband passed with cancer, from cancer, about 4 years ago. And I have been very, very busy ever since because, you just don't want to be home.
Yep,
you
full
know?
time.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I keep myself busy. I went back to work. I was retired before.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just working part-time. So I'm doing mobile home closings. So I go all over Indiana and do closings for people buying houses or doing refinancing.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it's really kind of a fun job because people are in a good place at
Yeah.
that point, you know, and I've only had a couple criers, so
Yeah.
so that's a good thing.
Of losing their home.
Well, more like they're going through a divorce. Or
Oh, okay.
I had one that when she was upset about losing her or about leaving her home, but she's like getting a new home, but she's like, oh, but this has been my
Memories. Yeah.
yeah, but for the most part, it's a fun job.
Is that what you were doing before you retired?
No, actually, I worked at Wabash Technology for
wow.
almost 30 years, and I was their material manager. So I took care of shipping and receiving and scheduling and purchasing and did all that. So
That's a big change.
It's a huge
Yes.
change, but
So, Chris, were you retired before your husband died?
yeah, I retired when I was 57 because he was older. He was older than I, and he had already retired.
Okay.
And I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
I am not going to work while you stay home.
No
Yeah,
kidding.
right,
That's
right.
terrible.
Right.
So we had about 5 years where we were both retired, and we camped down at Florida. We took our camper. We had a big fifth wheel camper, and we went down for a month or two each year. And I love Florida.
Yeah.
I really do. You know, I
Especially
love the beach.
retired.
Yeah.
I even got to see a beached whale.
Really?
beached
What
whale?
part of Florida were you in?
On the Gulf side, Madeira Beach,
Yep.
Clearwater, that
Yep.
area.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, so that's where we always stayed when we
Okay.
went down. But since then, you know, I keep myself busy with. I'm on the board of directors for the Huntington Theater Guild.
Oh.
About 5 years ago,
I didn't know that. Do you like acting?
Well, I had never. I did more singing than acting.
You can sing?
Well, I could, but at one time, maybe.
Yeah.
But I tried out for The Wizard of Oz, and they put me in as Auntie M.
Ooh.
Really? I love The Wizard of Oz.
Oh my goodness, it was
my favorite
so
movie.
It is
much
a good movie.
fun.
Do they have shows often?
Yeah, we're doing a murder mystery, a dinner murder mystery.
Are there
this
auditions for it?
Saturday.
They're already set?
It's this
You
Saturday.
can't get in, Jenny.
But if
When
you want to
can
get
I?
in, we're doing Willy Wonka.
Yes.
Tryouts.
I could be what's her face with the blueberries.
Yeah, tryouts are May
I want to be the blueberry girl.
the 24th and 26th.
Really?
At
Well,
up
wait
at
a
Huntington
second.
North High
Where
School.
is all of this?
May
Where do you
24th.
watch these things at?
The high school.
It'll be at the high school. Willy Wonka will be at the high school.
How does
the
is this,
play
like,
is going to
promoted?
be?
Because
I know.
You know, one of the fun things we talked about, Nick and I have been talking about this. So, like, how do you actually know what's going on in the world if you're not on social media?
I know.
You know, so the point is, I'm not on social media and I don't watch the news.
Right.
And so the only access of what I know is going on is either in my world or I've
Jenny.
forced myself to get on my phone and the little news app.
Oh,
so I'll
yeah.
read a
Apples.
couple articles because I think being a pastor, it might be a good idea to know what's going on in the rest of the
Yeah.
world and what's
Somebody's
happening.
gonna tell
So
you.
how would somebody know, like, that Willy Wonka's going on? How do you guys advertise?
Again, it's all Facebook, and I will be putting posters out probably in the next month or so. I'll have posters all over town, just like I did the posters for the prayer walk
prayer
that
walk,
we
yeah.
did a couple years ago.
yeah,
And
that's right.
That's when I met Jenny.
Yes.
Her and her puppy.
Yes, that's when
And-
he was little,
yeah,
itty bitty.
She carried him most
And
of the way.
he helped me pray for the jail,
He did.
which was actually really cool.
Let's not
It
get on
was.
this conversation about dogs and having prayers. And any of those
Listen,
things
he
for
helped
the
me
dogs.
through it.
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever.
He
Yeah,
did.
that prayer
He
walk
got
was
to see
fun.
where his mommy used to live. I was like, look, Grayson, I
Look,
spent.
Ray, this is Mommy's old house.
That was my address right there.
Oh, yeah. So
great.
that's cool. So there you go.
I know.
There's your chance.
I know.
But honestly, like, I didn't think. Sherry used to try to talk me into going to, like, plays.
They're the best.
And I'm thinking, do I look like a play kind of guy? Like,
No.
do I look like a guy? So then the first one she took me to was Hamilton. And so we went and watched Hamilton, and I was like,
You liked it?
It was the
Fascinated.
most incredible thing. I left it and went, and there's a autobiography of
no.
Hamilton, and I read it. I mean,
you
it was-
serious?
It was, wow, Jennifer, I listened to it. I didn't really read it.
We can't worry about her.
But it was 31 hours.
Wow.
The book, and I was fascinated with Hamilton's history and kind of how all that came about and how he was interested in it. And then she took me to see Wicked, which is the backstory to The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
And I'm like hooked. Like, this stuff is awesome.
The theaters?
well,
Oh, it's
What I
amazing.
watched, then she took Isaac. We used to go to New York all the time, and so they'd go watch Broadway shows in New York.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so I was like, I'm going to the Smithsonian. That was before we did this. And she
Yeah.
convinced Isaac to go watch Lion King.
Ooh,
on
that would've been
Broadway.
good.
Isaac comes out. He's like, it was the worst thing I've
Really?
ever seen. It fell asleep during the.
Oh,
And again, even Sherry said, like, it's different. Like, it's slower.
Yeah.
And, you know. Have you ever been to Sight and Sound Theater down in Branson, Missouri?
no, I've never been to Branson.
Oh my God, you got
One of the
like so
places I wanna
it's
go.
like when they put on the Noah and the Ark, like they have live animals walking in and the
Wow.
dogs all around
Ooh, that'd be
you, and,
cool.
like, it's the coolest thing ever. So I never thought I'd be into that stuff, but anyway.
Oh, I love that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, and you could be an actor in it.
I
Yeah.
know.
So-
I've always wanted to be on Broadway. I do love acting. I used to be in a bunch of plays growing up.
Yeah. And then what happened?
Well, a lot of
Life.
things.
you know the
real.
place that she used to
Yeah.
live?
Oh yeah, that happened.
Oh yeah, a lot of it.
Yes.
Is this going to be the first one that they've had in a while? Because I
Yes.
feel like I haven't
Yeah,
heard of it because of COVID.
it was supposed to have been done 2 years ago, and then COVID
Okay.
hit, so we couldn't do it then, and then we couldn't get our venue for last year. So, and that's the major problem that we have is trying to find a venue, because you have to have a stage, you've got to
Right.
have a way to get in and off the stage where people can't see you and that kind of stuff. So so it's.
Yeah.
What about doing it at Life Church?
I would love to do one at Life
Yeah, we would need to
Church.
put up like bunch of like black shades though, so they could come in and out.
Yeah, but we have those curtains and
That's
things.
true.
I'm sure
And then
that
the
we could
tech
figure
room's
out-
going to be down there, and they could change down there.
I'm just saying.
See, that's the kind of
Oh, listen, I'm going to get into it. I already asked Nichelle. A couple of years ago, I wanted to do an Easter performance so bad.
Well, I'm just saying, we've said, like, this is the vision. The reason Nick's put so much work and now Corinne into that down there is because we want it to be used all the
Right.
time. To be able to do things that serve the community and bring people in. And so I was just thinking about that.
We have our board meetings
There you
in
go.
the conference rooms.
Oh, really?
That's right, you
There we
do.
go. We're not that far off, are
Yeah.
we, Nick?
Nope. Oh no.
See?
Bring it on.
Yes.
All right.
Anything that we can do to continue to serve the community and have community stuff here.
Well, we do we try to do 2 or 3 murder mysteries a year,
Yeah.
and it's a dinner theater.
I know.
Oh, I
yeah.
know. Like you come in
So-
and eat and then you try to figure it out?
Yeah.
Yes.
That would be so
I
much
did it at a
fun.
place called the Wagon Wheel. or
Oh,
Yes!
yeah.
Oh, I love the
down
Wagon
in
Wheel.
Warsaw.
I tried out for Anne there and the blind and deaf girl.
What was
And-
her name?
I really having a hard time remembering her name. And then The Sound of Music. Yeah, and they said I would have gotten the part if I would have stayed on the ground, but I was shy when I was younger, so I didn't stay
okay.
on the ground long enough.
Okay.
And I knew sign language, and I was deaf. So, it just
Do
worked
you
out.
know sign language?
I used to, yeah.
Do you know anything?
The alphabet.
Can you sign me something?
I can do the alphabet.
No, something other than the alphabet.
This is mom and dad, and then grandma and grandpa. I think. I might have them mixed up.
Haley, if you're watching this, you can
Yes.
check.
Oh, we've already bonded.
Huh?
We've already bonded.
Yeah, you can see whether or not Jenny's really.
Yeah.
Because she teaches her kids sign language.
She does? That's amazing.
My
That's good.
daughter-in-law teaches
Yeah.
her
That's
kids sign
awesome.
language. So
That's
they'll
amazing.
come up and ask for something and be like,
In sign language.
what are you doing?
More? Is it more this or
I don't
something?
remember.
I'm pretty
like
sure.
they say it, I'm like, it's cute, but I'm like, can you just tell me what you're saying?
Yeah,
'Cause I have
that'd
no
be much
idea.
easier.
Yeah, like,
Well, you could have one of them standing on stage while you're doing your sermon and do that.
No kidding. We
when
don't
Haley
have any of
used to-
that.
When they lived around here and Haley used to come, that was her biggest thing. It's like so hard because I can't hear.
Right.
She has a hearing aid, but
Right.
it's still difficult in a big environment
Mm-hmm.
like that. And so I would say one of the most beautiful things that ever happened at Life Church is Jen Gerber's friends were down here for something. And she did
That was awesome.
during worship. Like
They
they
sign
signed
language?
worship and I'm like, I was mesmerized. I'm like,
It was I was playing that Sunday. I can remember it like it was yesterday.
no,
Really?
it was
Cool.
It was honestly one of the most beautiful expressions of worship
Yeah.
that I've ever seen.
I bet.
When somebody was signing worship like that, it was awesome.
In one of my rehab programs, they had them do that, but I came in at the wrong time, so I didn't get to learn it, or else I would have had to. And then they would go to churches and perform it.
Well, again, it wasn't just signing; it was expression. When
Right.
you were signing. I mean, it was just worship. It was
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Like,
Just a different way.
yeah, just awesome.
Okay, one question.
Yep.
Is there a lot of competition within the roles? Like, are there people from other
Leave it to
cities?
Jenny. Well, who
right
am I
now.
going to be up against?
I just need to
Why does
know.
that matter?
I just want to know if I have a chance.
You have a chance.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Well, I don't have a degree in it. I don't have.
Oh no.
I didn't go to school
The
for
first
it.
time I ever performed on stage for a speaking part was Annie M.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Now I've sang before and done like the Red Stocking Follies.
Yeah.
And worked and did those type things. But
See, I would never remember my lines. Like this would never.
That is a struggle.
That was my my
That's
I'm
worst
kind of an ad
fear.
libber. So
Me
when I
too.
get up there and preach, it's kind of like whatever's going through my head.
Yes, I am
Not
too.
really, like I have an idea what I want to say, but I could never follow a script.
Yeah.
Well, David Dean Sr. was Uncle Henry. Was Annie M and Uncle
I don't know.
Henry?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
that
Yeah,
could be.
yeah. He's an ad libber.
Okay.
So I was trying to stick to script, and
He was going off.
Oh my!
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
That's really hard is remembering the lines, especially when you do want to just put your own words in, because I tend to want to do that.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about. So obviously, a lot of transition in your life,
Yeah.
a lot of things happening in that way, but moving on and, allowing God to use you and doing, great things.
Well, I started coming here January 31st, 2019 was my first Sunday here. And I kind of snuck in and listened to service and snuck out.
Oh, really?
I did. Because
How'd you ever end up here?
Well, I only live 3 blocks away.
Oh, okay.
And we were,
Convenience.
Keely and Troy and I were looking for a new church.
Oh, yeah, because it was
So-
all at once.
Yeah,
because I can
yeah.
remember doing you guys' Discover Life during
Yeah,
COVID.
yeah.
Really?
My party barn. I'm in the party
Really?
barn. Yeah, doing Discover Life via my iPad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on Zoom.
Okay.
meetings. Yeah, I can remember that.
So, I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, about a month or two later, you had been preaching about serving, and I've always served at our other church, and I was missing that. I really, I like people, and I like to serve.
Right.
And doing donuts on.
Hey,
Yeah.
this
That
just
is so
shows
much-
how much she likes to serve.
Yes.
Look what she brought
And she
everyone.
made them
So
this
for all
morning.
future people,
Yep.
we love
Gifts.
So thank you.
Well, you said that 2 weeks ago, and
No, I
I thought,
know.
what am I going to pay?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
No pressure for any future
There
guests.
is no need
No
for that.
No, for sure
No,
there
there is
Like,
not.
This is so cool.
And
No.
don't forget
Yes.
Nick.
They are our guests. We should be giving them something.
And don't forget
Don't
Nick.
forget
Yes.
Nick.
Yeah,
Don't
if
just make it
anything.
all about Jenny.
No, I don't want it. I would rather have you guys have
lie.
it.
She always says, I wish people would bring me more stuff.
What? I've
She
never
says it
said
off
that.
screen, but it's okay.
All the time.
It's all right. Well, thank you. That shows
I
you
know,
serve
that's
your
very
heart.
sweet.
Yeah, well, and that's what I just love to do.
Yeah.
So serving donuts is so much fun.
Yeah.
Because
You get to see everybody.
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
and one of the things I decided when I first started here was I was going to introduce myself to one person every Sunday.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Look at that.
That's
what I'm talking
amazing.
Don't ask me their name.
I'm writing it down. We can't. Yeah, it's okay.
because
Well, I know,
I'm not
Barb.
good
What
with
do you
names.
think?
Barb, my friend Barb.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm really good with names.
Oh wow.
I always like the name Barb.
Yeah, anyway.
So yeah, last Sunday, I sat in front of two ladies. One lady's name was Mary, and I can't remember the other lady's
Barb.
name. I think it was.
Everybody's Barb now.
I think it
Now
started
it
with a
is.
C, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was talking to them that I had went to see Legally Blind Junior at Crestview the Saturday before. So then the one girl said, our lady said, my daughter's in there. And then we started talking about Theater Guild and about the next play coming up.
Yeah,
and it's
awesome.
it was really nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then I got to serve in communion.
Yes.
I got to do communion.
That's amazing.
That was, and I got to meet your daughter-in-law, Emma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that was really fun.
Yeah.
I
No, there's
really
and again,
enjoyed
there's just
that.
a lot to be said for, again, because we've always said, like, if you're going to last at Life Church, you're going to have to make an effort.
Yeah.
Because we
Oh,
don't
yeah.
really have a lot of stuff. So you're going to have to introduce yourself to people. You're going to have to serve to get to know people because we want it to be more of like God stirring in your own heart than feeling guilty because you don't do it.
Right.
Jennifer's real good about finding the right place for
Yeah,
you. I mean,
right.
she really is. So
Yeah. Does a good job that
she
way.
does.
Yeah. So let's get on to our current events.
Let's do
Okay.
Because
it.
it's always going to be fun
Here we go.
because we can get more about who you are based upon current events.
That's
so one of the
true.
things that we brought up, we were talking about earlier. So Jenny brought up the surge in COVID, right? So that's like, right? Didn't you bring it up? The
in
surge
China.
COVID.
Oh, I said
In-
that they were on
yeah.
lockdown.
yeah.
Yeah.
in China.
China's on lockdown.
I thought you said the surgeon. I'm like, I don't
The
remember
surge.
talking about a surgeon.
Jenny, read
Yes,
my lips.
I get it.
The
They don't open
surge
very wide. I can't really read them.
You know what's funny?
You're like,
Haley's
it's like, does she say the same thing?
Haley's like, you have to keep your mustache shaved.
Yeah.
Because when we're sitting at a table, I can't read your lips because
Poor
there's
thing.
no lips there.
Yeah.
Barely
That's
open
so
your mouth
true, though.
and you have squinty eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, how do you read you? You're just like a hairy face.
You just nod.
Yeah. You just sit at the table
Yeah.
and go, yeah.
When in doubt,
yeah.
just nod it out.
Yeah, but anyway, there is, and I had read this too, like there's a surge in other countries, and now they're worried about, COVID coming back, and how's the United States gonna to operate, and so let's talk a little bit about like this. The whole problem I think in the beginning is everybody thought the answer to the COVID crisis was everybody get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Right, like that was the idea, and so there was some pushback. Should you not get vaccinated? Get vaccinated. In fact, there's some people at Life Church that had to make job decisions based upon vaccination, not vaccination. So it was a big deal, and some people did, some people didn't. So Jenny, did you get vaccinated?
Heck no.
Yeah.
And what's your reasoning though?
My reasoning is I've always thought it was weird. And this is coming from somebody that took drugs off of a dealer on the corner. But you know what's weird?
Wait a second. When you did heroin, did you do it with needles?
Yes.
Okay, so if somebody would take dirty needles and shoot themselves up with heroin, but the vaccination seems weird.
And it's crazy. Right, I know. But that's how pretty much every addict that I've heard talk about it is the same way.
Okay.
And I don't know. I think it's a simple fact of like the pressure of like them putting on us is like, to me, it's weird.
Okay.
Like it's weird.
So for you, it wasn't really
I didn't feel it. Like
I don't want to, because like for my daughter, so she's the only unvaccinated person, I think. So I might be wrong, but out of a lot of people at her school, teacher-wise, she's the only person who didn't get it. And part of her reason is because she's a young woman who there's a worry that
pregnancy.
Does it hurt from a pregnancy standpoint?
Yeah.
Do you know? Does anybody really know?
Right.
What that really looks like?
I don't think we're going to know the side effects for another 5 years.
Really?
And then
Then it's too late.
Yes,
yeah, absolutely.
yes.
So I had COVID. The week after I got back to work, I had appendicitis.
Oh, wow.
I think it was COVID related. I blame it on COVID.
Did you have the vaccine?
Not until
then?
after.
Okay.
So after the appendicitis.
Yeah. It's like, because being diabetic and stuff, and being older is like,
So
maybe I should.
So with Jenny, you're saying your decision was just, I'm not going to get it because it's weird and it's forced.
Well, it's weird and we don't know, like most vaccines and everything else take years.
Yeah.
And then because I'm young and because I want to have children, like I'll even on dating apps, there's some that you can say if you're vaccinated or you're going to get vaccinated, but there's not a spot for like, you don't believe in vaccinations. But one of my like requirements now has become like, I do not want somebody that has gotten vaccinated because what if that like completely makes them not fertile? Or would a man be fertile?
Don't ask me.
Or is it just women
idea.
fertile?
Well, I think it goes back to what you guys just said. There is a lot of unknown. Right?
Yeah.
Does anybody really know?
Well, they're coming out with stuff that says that, like, it was at a doctor's office. Somebody, like, took a picture of something that said, and it said, if you're coming in for boys to be, or maybe it's guys, but it's young teenagers to get their, what is that test that they get? The physical before school for, like, any event. They said that if they are vaccinated, then they need to get blood work done because they're unsure of what it does to their heart.
Wow.
Yeah.
It said something like that.
Right. So the point is the unknowns, right? So you made a decision because of the unknown. Chris, you made a decision to be vaccinated. So talk us through that.
Well, the funny part about it is I'm losing my hair.
Okay.
And I talked to my
heard that.
beautician about it, and she said, it's because you're vaccinated.
No.
And I'm
really?
like,
Or COVID. My mom lost her hair in COVID.
Because of COVID or the vaccine. And it's like, oh, great, I'm not getting another one.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm kind of done with it.
Okay.
So I think, I did it because of my health issues.
Right.
But I don't disagree with the people that didn't get it.
Sure.
I think that they were probably the wiser because they're building their own immunity. And, if you get it, then you naturally build an immunity to it. So, I don't know.
I just think it's weird that if you go on like TikTok, if you go on the internet and like Google vaccinations or anything like that, like you won't find anything about the negativity in it. Like they are deleting everything on TikTok on the vaccination if you are against it.
Right. Yeah, so I'm not vaccinated. So
Right.
obviously I'm older and don't have to worry about having kids because I'm already snipped, so I don't have to worry about that part of it.
Praise the Lord.
Huh?
Praise the Lord.
That I'm snipped?
I don't know. Do you not want kids anymore?
Well, it was a funny thing, like, because Sherry had all of our kids were C-section, and she could have her tubes tied, but she says, no way,
it's your
you're going to
turn.
put your feet in stirrups.
Exactly.
And I never really thought about it, like, okay, whatever, honey, I love you. And then I had to go to put my feet in stirrups. I'm like, what am I doing here?
Feel weird?
It's just the weirdest.
Yeah.
And
Welcome to our world.
a lady comes in, and I'm like, what are you doing here?
Well, we have man doctors sometimes.
Listen, I'm
what's
not
the
saying
difference?
anything other than my own feelings. So they're like, this lady comes in, I'm sitting there like, okay, you're going to have to like disrobe, put on this little thing. And they go, they put these little things out there that you got to put your feet up in.
Yep.
She said,
yeah.
so the doctor will be back. And I'm like, all right, whatever. So I do it, and they're like, so once you're done, get your feet up in there. And here comes a woman. I'm like, what is going on? What are you doing in here? She's like, I'm
Mortified.
the doctor. And you know how they just say, oh, it's just like a little bee sting.
Yep.
No.
Not a bee sting.
It's not a bee sting.
Oh
It's
my
not
gosh.
a bee sting.
But
So
I
anyway,
promise you it wasn't labor.
Right. No.
listen, maybe not. I'm just saying, like, everything they said was true was not true. So
That's a
anyway, I didn't get it. The same reason I don't get the flu vaccine, the same reason that I don't go to the doctor very often, like the same. Philosophically, I do believe that it's better for the body to build immunity than it is to have a pill to fix everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, and again, I'm not against anybody that does or doesn't go to the doctor.
Right.
This is my own personal. I think a lot of, and this went clear back to when I was in college. One of the other business studies that I did is like the pharmaceutical industry and how they make money. You know, so it's a business model that we were talking through. And one of the ways that the pharmaceutical company makes money is to say, live whatever lifestyle you want because we have a pill to fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're saying hypertension. Like some is hereditary, but 90% of hypertension is you're too fat.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, when my blood pressure is high, which has been high before, and they're like, we can put you on a pill. And I'm like, I'm not going to go on a pill. I'm just going to stop being fat.
Yeah.
Like, there's a choice. Like, I can make a decision not to be so fat. Like, I'll make eating decisions to discipline my life. But pills have made it easy to not be disciplined.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
because
they
your
really
pill
have.
can fix anything else that you have
Everything.
to mask over an undisciplined lifestyle. And that's not for everybody, but that's
Right.
just like, it's my own thing, didn't get vaccinated. And again, I've always said this, like, I don't really care. I don't care if you do or don't get vaccinated. Here's where I have the issue. Why is it that this vaccine has now become something that is, you have to have a card,
Yeah.
and the only way that you can purchase, and the only things that you can do, or it's on, like,
It's
is there
weird.
anything on dating apps to say, do you have a polio vaccination?
No.
Yeah.
Nothing.
That's my point. Is there anything on there that says were you vaccinated as a child?
Nothing.
Against chickenpox?
Nothing.
No.
Yeah.
So why
I know.
now is the COVID vaccine different than every other vaccine?
I know.
Why do you think
so
that
they
is?
can control us.
Is
Yeah.
that what you think it
It's
is?
Yeah,
Control.
absolutely.
Yeah. And that it's a way that they have now back then. So this, you want to get into my conspiracy theory?
Sure.
I think they're trying to
I
kill
like it.
everybody. Do you?
No, listen to this. So back then, I really think vaccines were because we needed them.
Mm-hmm.
Like childhood vaccines, I really think there's something about childhood vaccines that you really need them, right? And that it's something that you should do.
Well, your
know?
immune system's less than.
The point just is I can't give a lot of research on it, but I don't think back then, even once you got your vaccines, there was a thing that says you can't go somewhere because you don't have your vaccinations.
Right.
Like, I don't think that this was an issue. Like, you chose to get vaccinated, chose not to get vaccinated, meaning your kids, like whatever
Right.
those things are. Those are decisions now. When it comes to the COVID vaccine and the development of it so quick, is this back to this idea is what are they trying to prepare us for? Why are they trying to control us now more than when they were trying to control us? And was there nothing about control back then? But really, is this COVID and the vaccine that goes with COVID a conditioning to get you used to more government control? Like, what do you think? I mean, do you think that has anything to do with it?
Oh yeah, I'm sure that they're trying to get more and more control because if they don't have that power, I mean, it's all about power and greed, and
absolutely.
they have put so much money into the COVID, whether it's vaccine or talking about it or whatever, lockdowns and all of this, and I think they haven't spent all of that money yet, and now they're trying to figure out how to spend it, instead of doing the right thing and putting it back into the government's coffers,
Right.
which, might reduce our debt a little bit. Wouldn't that be nice?
Well, think about this. Is this is one of the things I've been thinking about because we're teaching on Revelation. So that's what we've been doing here at Life Church is teaching on Revelation. So one of the things we know that when the Antichrist comes, the reason everybody accepts the Antichrist is because he brings peace. right? That's the one reason. Like, the world is in turmoil and division. And when the Antichrist comes, the Antichrist brings world peace. And so everybody, because there is such of a turmoil, was like, I'll do anything for world peace, even if it means following the Antichrist. So I have this theory that part of this is to cause division and turmoil as a preparation period to come to the place where somebody from the government, because it says it comes from, the Antichrist comes from a government position, right? It comes from a place where, they have authority, inside of the government, where they can now say, the world's so divided and the world's at war and the world's that so many things are happening and everybody's at each other's throat. And so I can fix this. And here's the answer. And so everybody's going to be like, I'm so sick of being divided. Well, how do you get sick of being divided if you're not? If you're unified, what does the Antichrist have to offer?
Right.
Because, as this example, one of the things that, we talk about is this whole idea is how does culture condition us to accept things that we would have never accepted 10 years ago?
Right.
And you can see that in anything.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Yeah.
10 years ago, what was accepted on television, what's accepted in your children, what's accepted at school, what's accepted in the movie theater, what's accepted in music, culture in general,
Everything.
things that were censored before or not censored then, things that we listen to today or watch today or participate in today or read about today, it would have never been accepted 10 years ago, right? No. So how did we get to the place 10 years later that it's now accepted? Like, how does that happen, Jenny? How do we get to that place?
I mean, just over time.
Yeah, but how over time? Like,
They
how did
cram
we
it down your throat.
Do what?
Every time you turn on TV, it's crammed down your throat. Every commercial has it. They just cram it down your throat until it's acceptable.
You just get used to it.
Yeah, so it's little things, right? Like, so it's going to be the introduction of something on television that might start as controversy, but then people are going to look at you and say, so why is that a big deal? And they're going to bring conflict. And because most people are conflict adverse, you know what they're going to say? Whatever. Just let it go.
Yeah.
Because the Bible said it's wrong.
Right, but no, I know, but
Yeah.
let's just be honest.
Yeah.
Most people are conflict adverse.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
when something is brought up that's in conflict, people that are not conflict adverse usually win, right? Because they're the ones saying, I don't care about conflict, and I'm going to raise my voice, and I'm going to fight for it. Lots of other people are like, is it really worth fighting for? So you let a little bit happen.
Yeah.
And then you let a little bit more happen. And then you let a bit more happen. And 10 years down the road, we've been sitting back watching this happen. And we've just been like, whatever,
So we become that lukewarm church.
Yeah, I mean, is that how you get conditioned?
Yeah.
Because again, when do you stand up? So at what point do we make a decision that we're supposed to stand? I mean, at what point is it worth fighting for? You know what I mean?
I was talking to a friend of mine about this. I was like, how do you stand up? I'm just one person. What is it that I can do? And she's the same way. She's like, I don't know. She says, I know it needs to be done. But how do we start that? What do you do? Where do you go?
Yeah, but use this
Write
as an
your
example.
congressman.
We said this a long time ago, and Nick might have been here during this time, but so Hillary, when she was a youth pastor here, brought up this whole idea, like, we should probably think about how we spend our money because how we spend our money is affecting the rest of the world. Okay, so she brought up that the chocolate that you eat from Hershey's today is enslaving people all over the world, right? So her point was, hey, if you know that going and buying a Hershey bar is going to enslave a child around the world because of how Hershey's does their production and how they enslave people to be able to do it, and there's an offer for free trade, right? Chocolate. Now, it's going to cost you $1 more for a bar of chocolate than what Hershey's is. Wouldn't we make a decision to stand up by making a purchase decision that's going to cost you more, but it's not going to enslave? So what we did is we're like, we know it's going to be hard, so we're going to offer free trade chocolate downstairs at the church. If you want chocolate, come into our thing. We had this whole free trade. You could buy clothes, you could buy chocolate. Guess what? It went out of business.
Yeah.
Why? Because people tend to go with the flow and do what's easiest instead of being intentional. So how do we stand up? Stand up is you have to be intentional.
Yeah.
Right? You have to make a decision. Are you or are you not going to stand for, even if it's one person saying, I'll never buy another bar of Hershey's chocolate, even if it's one person that would say, I'll never buy another pair of shoes made by Nike because, if it's somebody that would say, I'll never do this because, one person has started the revolution everywhere.
Right.
Right. And anything that we've ever done started with somebody being intentional, saying, I don't care what the rest of the world does, but I have a conviction. And inside of my conviction, I choose to do this. You know, and how much can that spread, you know, inside of that? And how can we do those things?
Well, just so you know, the chocolate chips are Nestle's.
That's good to know. That's funny.
Just putting that out there for you.
But my point just
But I
is,
know,
like when you do bring an awareness to something, like as an example, the whole like pornography. You know why pornography is so big? You know, and that, you know, it puts people into sex slavery all over the world. Right? All over the world, people are into sex slavery. The only reason is because of America.
Right.
We're the only people that have enough money to support sex trade.
Yeah.
And watching it on your phone. And again, why do we do it? Because we make a selfish decision to pleasure ourselves over other people. We make a selfish decision to make ourselves comfortable more than thinking about somebody else. Most of our decisions in life are thought from a selfish way and not a way that's how does it affect other people.
Yeah.
So how do we take a stand? You know, how do we get to those places where the conditioning, because conditioning happens because people don't take a stand.
Right.
Right.
Right? I mean, conditioning happened. Look at Nazi Germany, right? So if you look at the way Hitler took it over, right? Hitler took it over by saying, you know what? The best thing to bring peace is nobody should have guns, right? So here's what I'm going to do. Just everybody turn in their guns. We're going to police everything, and we're going to take care of it. After everybody turned in, and everybody was like, oh, yeah, it makes complete sense. Why wouldn't everybody turn in? It's the good for everybody, right?
Peace.
But that's my point, is it's a conditioning. It's a conditioning to say, trust me, Hitler.
Right.
Government, trust me.
Right.
As a Christian, where do we draw this line to say, who are you really going to trust? Right? And where does that? Because back to what I said, or I think I said this on a couple podcasts. So I have this theory, you know, when it goes into this whole conspiracy thing. I don't care about the vaccination, but why the vaccination card?
Yeah.
Why is it that I have to have? Why, when I'm in Breckenridge, Colorado, skiing
that's sad.
on a ski slope, why is it that I cannot go in and warm up at all?
Oh, you couldn't even go in and warm up?
No.
You couldn't even
you
go in the building?
walk in the building. You could not walk in the building to warm up. All of the ski slope lodges that had food and warming shelters, you could not go in. They had physical people at the door, guards, essentially.
ridiculous.
They're not wearing guns, but they're guards.
Right.
You open up the door, the first thing they ask you for is your vaccination card.
Somebody's getting paid to do that.
Without a vaccination card, you're not allowed to enter. Why?
How did you ski?
With no mask. I mean,
Nothing. You could not enter without a vaccination card. You know, you ski and you're just out on the slopes. It's 10 degrees out. You can go sit outside at a picnic table around 150 people.
Yeah.
Somebody's sitting right over here.
No sense.
yeah, exactly.
But I can't walk in. Why? Because we know, like, listen, because this is what we all know. And people don't want to admit this, but if you actually think about this, everybody's like, well, the reason is the science. I'm going to slap somebody silly because there's somebody sitting right beside me at a picnic table that's not inside.
Yeah.
And you're telling me it's the science because I'm going to be indoors and it's going to spread because we're indoors when there's 100 people sitting in this crowded spot right outdoors?
Yeah.
No, so it's not the science.
Question: what about the doctor's offices?
Huh?
Like, are the doctor's offices
I
the
have
same?
not been to a doctor's office,
Can you not go in there if you don't have a vaccination
All
card?
I'm saying is that
You just have to be masked.
yeah, I'm just saying though, it starts with a conditioning. So who really cares? It's Breckenridge, Colorado, and it's just at the ski slope because you can go in town and you can go in the grocery store and you don't need a vaccination card. So what's the big deal?
There,
Right?
Because it's coming.
Well, that was my point. So
Yeah.
my point is this how conditioning happens? Does
Yes.
conditioning happen
Yes.
because we were like, okay, well, I guess it's a ski slope and it's all okay. And then the next thing it's going to be, well, you know, the grocery store is saying, or the restaurants, because it wasn't the restaurants outside of Breckenridge. You could go into a town and go to a restaurant. It was only at the ski slope. So it's like, oh, it's at the ski slope. But then it was at a restaurant. So then it's only a few restaurants. And then it's
Right.
all the restaurants. And then it's gas stations. So you can only get gas outside. can't
Yeah.
come inside. And then it's government buildings. And then it's, you know what I mean? But conditioning happens because at some point you're just saying, you know what? I better just go with the flow.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, what do you guys think about that?
I mean, I think it's just exactly like you taking a stand that one time, even if you're that one person. It's just like conditioning where I think you think of it as like, oh, it's just that one gas station. It's just that one store. It's just, it won't come to me like it's out of picture, out of mind kind of sight thing.
Yeah, and why does it matter, really? Because this is what everybody's going to push
Doesn't affect
back.
me.
Why does it matter? Just get vaccinated and just get a card. Well, I mean, you're the one that's causing all the problems.
Yeah, make it easy.
Because I had somebody tell me this one time, like when we opened up the church, and they're like, just so you know, because this was a big deal. When Life Church opened before anybody else, this was big controversy. And they're like, just so you understand, you are causing the deaths of people by opening
Why?
up this church.
Oh, when you opened up after COVID.
Yeah, when we opened up after COVID.
Okay, got you.
No, when we opened up after
Got
COVID.
you.
You know, and because, again, some of the mandates were lifted. Because in the beginning, we closed because back to I never watched the news, and we came to a staff meeting, and somebody's like, what are you going to do about COVID? And I'm like, what the heck's COVID? And then somebody described it in the meeting, and I thought, oh, it's like Ebola. You touch somebody, and you bleed out, like in the middle of the road. And
That was
nobody
on
really
St.
knew.
Patrick's Day.
Nobody really knew, right? So then we just ended up closing for a while.
Yeah.
But when we got a chance, and, you know, anybody that's on staff here knew that I'm like, we're opening.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes,
Pretty
we're
quick.
opening, you know, to be able to get this done. And we had people calling and saying, like, just so you know that you are causing the deaths of people and you are selfish and that you are proving that you
Wow.
care more about yourself and the numbers at your church than you do about, you know,
Wow.
other people. So, you know, they play it on the other end. Right?
Yeah.
Like, this is the other end of all
Right.
of this. Is like other Christian people are saying, you're not being sensitive to other people by not making people wear masks. You're not being sensitive by not making people get vaccinated. You're not sensitive by letting things happen in this way. And I'm like, is that really what it is? Is this really what it's about? You know, is this really what we're talking about? And or is this bigger than just those things?
Oh, it's
Yeah,
bigger.
absolutely.
Yeah, and so let's
It's
talk
bigger.
about the bigger, because this is what I brought up earlier. So I said, here's something that's interesting in Revelation. So in Revelations, there's a thing called the Mark of the Beast, you know, and the Mark of the Beast happens essentially, again, where the government installs something that would say, if you want to purchase, if you want to buy, if you want to go into, if you want to eat, it's easy. We'll provide it all for you. All you have to do is take a mark, and the mark's 666, and as long as you have the mark, you're going to be able to go and purchase. Now, if I said that to you today, right? Jenny, would you take the mark of the beast?
No.
No.
Barb?
No, I don't think Barb
Oh
would.
Gosh.
Chris, would you take the mark?
I don't think so.
Nick?
Nope.
No, now. Okay. 10 or 15 years down the road. So now here's where we've started. So now Jenny gets to a place where, or Jenny's kids get to the place where you've always had to go to, you know, you've always had to have a card to purchase. You know, if you wanted to go in the grocery store, if you wanted to go into a restaurant, you've always had to have a vaccination card. If you wanted to go watch a basketball game, you had to have a vaccination card. No big deal, right? Because what's the problem, right? I mean, think about that today.
Yeah.
Like if you really want to go watch your kids play basketball, all you have to do is have a vaccination card. Who's it hurting? Why does it matter?
Right.
Right? I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
This is how people are thinking, right? Why does it really matter? Why are you really fighting it? Who really cares? How much of an effect does it really have on you? Stop being so selfish.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Now we're 10 years down the road, and you're used to having something that on you that requires entry into anything. So it's real normal, right?
So crazy.
It's real normal for you to go to a gas station and have to show a card before you can walk in. It's real normal for you to go to the grocery store and show a card before you went in. It's real normal to see people standing at a door, right? Because this
Right.
isn't normal right now. The world looks at this and like, it isn't normal for people to be standing at Breckenridge, Colorado at a warming station saying there
Yeah.
are 2 guards at the door. That's abnormal and everything. Like, oh my gosh. But just think, is it going to be abnormal 10 years from now?
No, not if it keeps on.
Your kids are going to look at it and say, oh, that's all I've ever grown up with is people at a door asking me for a card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when they say, well, just it's different than the card now, it's just a mark, is that going to matter to them?
No.
Probably not. And that's what a shame that is.
Well, and that's the question is, so is this a part of the plan?
It's part of the conditioning.
Is
Well,
it?
yeah, I think the enemy is deceitful, and that would be the best way. I mean, that's what he does. He just like how he did to Adam and Eve, or to Eve. He told her or that it would that what she would be like
That
God
she could,
or
that she could
talk
see.
to God.
Again, it was partial truths.
Right.
So what's the big
And that's what he's
deal?
doing. He's giving partial
it's not
truth.
really that. Did God really say?
Right, making her
Does
doubt.
it really matter? And that's
Exactly.
always my question. My question is, and this just gets into the Church of Lacedonia. So that's what we studied this last week. In the Church of Lacedonia, they were lukewarm.
Yeah.
We know that church didn't start that way. How does a church that gets started in a community where God wasn't known, he becomes known, a church is planted, lots of people attended, how does it go from a church that's on fire to a church that essentially, the whole church, this was the only one that was a whole church of saying, this is completely acceptable to be lukewarm, right? Because they were lukewarm because they honestly didn't know any different.
Right.
It was just like, it's normal to be lukewarm. How does it get that way? How does it happen inside of a church? And how much responsibility do we have to stand up, right? Because anytime that you stand up, just so we know, right? Anytime you stand up, you will have resistance. So when should you? Like, as a Christian person, is it wrong to take a stance to say, I'm never going to take the vaccination card?
No. It's not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, and is it wrong for us to say, I'm never going to accept certain things?
No.
Yeah, I don't carry it with me. I mean, it's a home someplace.
It's
Right.
not wrong if you are trying to prevent what you think is going to happen.
Well,
Like,
I'm
if you
asking
think-
you, do you really believe, do you think in society in general, Nick, you can weigh in on this if you want, like, do we think, or am I the only crazy person that thinks part of all of this is a conditioning to make it so that, again, somebody ushers in world peace, because what does the vaccination card cause? Division.
Paper.
Right?
Oh, cause.
Division.
Cause. Yes.
Cause.
Yeah.
Division, right? Like, people are going to be on sides of this,
Right.
and it's going to cause division. Some of the laws that have been passed about certain things that are going to be accepted and not accepted causes division, right? Like whether you're going to get vaccinated or not get vaccinated cause division, right? And so is this somewhat of a conditioning to get us okay with, because the response of a lot of Christian people, people who claim to know Jesus Christ, is to say, Jenny, if you were loving, you would get the vaccination. And by you not getting it, you're not loving your neighbor.
You don't love people.
How are you going to respond to that? How are you going to respond to that you're not loving your neighbor? Because, Jenny, now you can just spread it out and you're going to kill Barb over here. No, that's what your response
I
is,
know.
right? You're going to kill Chris because you're selfish and you chose not to get it. How do you respond to that? Nick, how do you respond to that? Because Jenny's giving me a look like I have no response.
Well, I mean, I guess that's how I would be today. Like, I'm not getting it, and there's nothing that you can say to change my mind.
No, I know, but how do you respond to somebody who says you're selfish and that you're going to cause the deaths of other people and that you're only thinking about yourself?
I don't think I would respond.
Christian people think about other people.
I don't think I would respond.
You wouldn't respond at all?
I don't think so.
Just walk
What
away
would you
from
do,
it.
run away?
Yeah.
Just turn around and walk away.
I don't know. I don't got time for that.
No, but it's a question right now. That's a division in the Christian community right now, right?
Yeah.
Like, Nick, how would you respond if somebody said to you, you're being selfish and you're doing all of these things, and true Christian people, out of love, would be vaccinated?
Yeah, I've had this conversation. It's not fun. But
No, it's not.
It's not fun?
Oh, no, it's not fun. No, because then they start bringing up all the facts, which, again, you can go on the internet and you can find anything that fits what you want to say. But really, I just said, what do I have to worry about if you've already got vaccinated? Right? If you're vaccinated, does it really matter if I'm vaccinated?
Right.
Right, because you're safe. That's a good point.
I mean, if you're
Supposedly,
vaccinated,
yeah.
then you're fine, right?
Yeah, I just think it comes down to, and I think this is the part, at what point, right? Because this is the fine line. At what point do we trust government, and what time do we trust God? And at what point, who will be the ruler of your life, right? Like, because if somebody asks me with this, like, I'm just going to flat out say, the reason that I'm not getting vaccinated, honestly, has nothing to do with my health, or has nothing to do with me spreading it. Like, none of those crossed my mind. All of the thing that crosses my mind is that I've, with my own conviction of what I have with the Lord, I think this is a place to take a stand. I'm not going to get it. And I'm not going to get it because I do believe, and I'll just flat out tell people, that what's happening through COVID revealed a lot.
Yes.
Right? And part of the revelation is that One, we will bow down to authority when conflict comes, regardless if you're in the wrong. If the government's in the wrong, you're going to bow down to the voices of culture over the voice of God. Because there's nobody that's going to convince me, nobody, that the voice of God would have said, don't gather.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. That's
Just
yeah.
nobody's going to convince me of that.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, people should have a choice to gather.
Yeah.
They don't have to. People could have stayed in their homes. People could have sheltered in. People could have done all those things. At no point do I think it's right for the government to tell me that I have to do something like that. Like, I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's the way it should be. And that I think that's the place where I honor God. Like, my job was to preach the gospel. And if it's to nobody, it's to nobody. But I'm not going to stand back and allow the government to tell me that, you know, I'm not going to do it. It's a conviction that I have with the Lord. Like, I'm not going to do those things. And I do think that some of these things that are happening are flat out to condition, not me, my children and their children, to accept something that's coming in the future.
Yeah.
And I just want to, for me personally, this is just my own personal feeling.
Right.
Like, for me, I look at it like the church in Macedonia, because this is the other conviction I have, is like culturally the way I make my decisions is the same way I make my decisions inside of the church. Like, I'm not going to not preach about something and take a stand on something just because it causes conflict. So when I make a stand in culture, I'm not making it, I don't really care if it causes conflict or not. I'm going to make a stand. You can hear my opinion. You don't even have to agree with me. I'm not asking you to have to agree with me. And I'm not even going to sit here and try to prove you wrong, because I honestly don't care. I'm going to take this stand because this is what I believe. And it's the same way that I preach on Sunday morning.
Right.
This is what it is. I'm not going to compromise it. I'm not going to talk around it. I'm not going to have discussion. You know, we're not going to discuss whether it is or isn't.
Right.
This is what is true. You do with it what you need to. In the Church of Macedonia, how did they get to the place where they accepted being lukewarm? Like, how, think about it, be in that position. Who would have told them that it was okay to be lukewarm? Where did that come from?
The
And
people
how
ahead.
long did it take them to get to that point?
For sure.
You know, was it a matter of just a couple years, or was it like
No, we would probably
30
guess that
years,
it probably
30,
took them 30 to 40 years
Yeah.
to be able to get there. Because we know the church in
Generationally.
Ephesus,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the church in Ephesus had been planted, and by the time that they, you know, were planted and on fire to the time they lost their first love was about 40 years. So we're assuming that track that Paul made to
Okay.
plant those churches would have had to be in some of those time frames. So we'd say that it went quite a while since that church had been in there. How many years, we don't know, but it did take time,
Yeah.
right, for them to get there. But how does it get there? How does a person get to a place where they are inundated with something that made them believe that it was okay to be lukewarm? How does a person get there?
By dismissing everything that they think they should, but then just letting it go. And just, I feel like if you don't agree with something and you don't want to like speak out on it because of conflict, or you're afraid of that, every time it's just going to be easier to like completely dismiss something.
Dismiss or accept? Because there's
Both.
a difference.
You think there's a difference?
Well, I'm just saying, if I dismiss it, I'm not going to do it. I'm just not going to bring up the conflict. I'm just not going to do it. Accepting it would say, okay, I guess I'm just going to go with the flow and do what everybody else is doing, right? Like, you can just dismiss it and say, I'm not going
Right.
to argue about it, you know, but if you accept it, then you're essentially going down and it's...
That's true.
I mean, I'm thinking that.
But
know.
you said it Sunday, they lost their fire for Jesus, you know, and you know, that really stuck with me this week. I keep thinking, man, have I lost my fire? You know, it's like to get you back, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it takes you to, you know, really start to study a little bit more and start to read a little bit more. And I hope I haven't lost my fire. I don't think I have.
Well, think of it.
But
Think of it this way. How many times do we see this in marriages where people are falling out of love?
yeah,
I mean, this is a common thing. Like, this isn't uncommon.
Right.
No.
They didn't start
No.
to the point where they didn't love each other.
Right.
They were on
Right.
fire, on love.
Right.
Over the years, they fell out of love. And they fell out of love because they went ahead and accepted certain behaviors as okay. And somebody confirmed that behavior was okay. So that's why they kept doing it. Nobody brought it up. No wife said, hey, hello. I don't know if this actually works, if Nick can hear that. Right? Like, hello, you're not loving me well. right? It's just been, okay, I'll just accept my husband for being kind of apathetic in this area.
Yeah.
And then I'll kind of accept my husband for kind of not loving me in this area. And I'll kind of accept. And then pretty soon you get 20 years down the road and you accepted all of these things, right? You've compromised all of these things.
Right.
You've allowed all of these things to happen. And next thing you know, you're like, how did we ever get here? Well, you got here because of the first time that you didn't feel like you were being loved well. You didn't say anything about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, and that has to be what's happened in the church, right? In the church of Laodicea, right? It had to happen where the first decision that we made, there had to be like, is this right or wrong? Somebody had to confirm to them. Who was going to be the person that's going to confirm? You need to stand on this, or you need to stand on this. Who was there? Because everybody gets to this place. Like, you don't usually make these decisions alone.
No.
Right? So what is our role? Because that's what happened inside of the church. There had to be leadership that was first lukewarm before the church became lukewarm.
Right.
Or the church became lukewarm and got rid of the preacher who was on fire and brought somebody in that accepted their behavior.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it had to get to that place. But that's my big point is that, so how is it, because this is what we have to really figure out. So how is it that our cultural decisions are also playing into our spiritual decisions of compromise and our spiritual decisions of, so if we're being conditioned today in culture to accept things inside of culture, are we also being conditioned in the church to accept certain things? Like, do you see that? I mean, do you, not in Life Church, but do you see that in the church in general?
Yes.
Yes. In other churches, I've seen it.
Yeah, like what are some examples? What are some examples where conditioning has made it? So like you look at a decision today, right?
Right.
And we're like, how did they get to that decision? Like, what are some of those decisions that we look at and say, how has that ever become acceptable?
Well, I think not preaching on the word exactly to what it is.
Okay.
So like a lot of these churches that are self-driven, like I'm going to speak out on how God's going to make you feel better and how if you're down, like he's going to help you here and not the other way of like what his real judgment or not
Yeah, whatever
judgment,
the
but-
real word says.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Not like really what God wants us to do, but whether like what we want to do with God.
So over time, you would say there's been this conditioning that it's okay for a Christian not to be in the Word.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way you could get away with that.
Yeah.
Right? There's been this conditioning that would say, don't you worry about reading it.
Yeah, and I don't think they want them
I'll
to.
read it for you.
Yep.
I'll interpret it for you. I'll show you how it really needs to be done. You don't need to be in there. But that
Self-help
happened over
sells.
time because nobody in the beginning would have said you shouldn't read the Word of God.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But also nobody ever brought it up that you should.
Right.
Conditioning, right? Like that's an example. What else? Like what are some other things?
Well, personally, I think that like what comes to my mind is relapse. So for me,
Okay.
so like you are good, really good. Like you are going to just different things. Like you would never, or you could never see yourself going back. But over time, you just let certain things in that make you make that decision because it seems okay.
Right.
That's what I think of.
So
And-
you're saying like the part of the conditioning is letting little things
Right.
into your life that shouldn't be acceptable that then lead to the relapse.
Yes.
And
Right.
just let them build up.
Yeah,
and
little
build
moments.
up.
And that's the same thing with like you're letting the government tell you these things and you're just doing it and you're complying. And then all of a sudden it's like you're there and it's happened.
Chris, any thoughts on like what are some things that are happening in the church today that we're looking at and we're saying, how did we ever get there? And then how do we identify the conditioning that got us to the place where this was okay?
Well, I don't see it here, but you've seen other churches that are accepting the homosexuality, and
And to be clear, homosexuality and leadership.
Yes.
Because
Okay,
that
yeah.
because
Yeah,
that's
because that's what's
the
gonna start it.
because when we talk about the acceptance of homosexuality, the idea is that it's easy to talk like homosexuality is a sin, just like greed and the rest of these things. Like this part, pretty simple. Like what you're saying is two things have happened. One would be is we don't think it's a sin. And two, we especially don't think it's a sin. That's why people are in leadership.
yeah.
in that
So
ways.
Pastors that are
Yeah, they
I
have
just-
LGBT churches.
Yeah.
Well, but the point is,
And
so
it's
how
like-
did it get there? So how did we ever get to the point? So here's what we had to get to, right? So there was a conditioning, right? So conditioning over time that would say, Chris, Barb.
I was waiting for that. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, no, wait. So here's what it had to be. The conditioning happened over time because it was like at some point, if you would have said, this isn't okay, right? you would have been looked at as somebody who is not a true Christian and not somebody who loves God, right?
And I'm sure that they're saying, you're supposed to love everybody. And yeah, I do love everybody, but I don't have to accept your lifestyle, and
But not accepting, again, this is how conditioning happens. If you don't accept my lifestyle, you don't love me.
But that's not true.
But that's how they think.
But that's
my
how they
point is,
feel.
this is how conditioning. So I'm going to make you feel guilty until you either run away from me or agree with me.
Yeah.
You see, this is how conditioning happens.
Right.
Conditioning happens where you're put in you're going to be forced to make it. This is what's happening with the vaccination card.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to be forced to bring it to a head.
Yeah.
So before it was just get a vaccination, don't get a vaccination. Who really gives a crap?
Right.
Right. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Blah blah blah. I mean, whatever. Everybody can make their own decision. The vaccination card brings to head a division.
Yeah.
You're going to have to make a statement.
You have a choice.
And you're going to have to err on one side. And when you err on that side, it will be known by everybody else. When you walk into that place in Breckenridge and they turn you around, just so you know, everybody that's in there is like, that person is wrong and we are right.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's how they're viewing it. And they're gonna call you out. This is what's gonna happen. Jenny, why aren't you getting a vaccination card? Everybody else is getting a vaccination card. I don't understand why you're unloving by not getting a vaccination card. But no, my point just is that it's conditioned in society so that it's conditioned in spirituality, right? So we're going to condition you in society that if you don't go along with, like if you would sit back there and say, this thing on TV, if Nick today would go back 20 years and say this was acceptable for kids to watch, if he went to his kids today and censored TV the way TV was censored, Nick would be egged in his house. Is it true, Nick?
It out.
Oh, absolutely.
No, I mean, you would for sure be ostracized in your church.
He would get
because
kicked
your
out.
kids have been conditioned by culture to say this is okay.
Yeah.
Right? Like they've just been conditioned. And anytime, this is why it's so hard right now as a parent. If a parent actually evaluates, like if you watch The Social Dilemma, and again, just don't get me wrong, social media has its place and does really great things.
Right.
But if you watch The Social Dilemma, every single person because you've watched it, right, Nick?
No, I haven't.
Have you really?
You haven't?
So anyway, at the end of The Social Dilemma, the people that were a part of Facebook, the people that were a part of Instagram, they'll just flat out say, we won't let our kids have it.
Yeah.
We're not going to let our kids have it because we know
How it went.
if it goes down the road, it's going to be so hard to get your kid disconnected from it that you're going to get lashed if you ever tell your kid that they can't get on TikTok or if you ever tell your kid that they can't do this, right?
Yeah, all their friends are.
But my point is, it's a conditioning. They know this.
Yes.
Right? They know that if they get you down the road, there's no way Nick's going to fight that battle. Right? It's too big of a fight because kids are going to hate him.
Yeah.
Right? Like those things are just too big of a fight. And so back to Nick's going to sit back and say, you know what? And it's not just Nick. He's in the room. So, but my point is they condition you to a way where the fight's too big. Right? And you're going to be, because right now, if Nick made that decision, he would be one of 50 dads that were going to make that decision.
Yeah.
And he would be looked at as the one who's an idiot because he's going against culture. Take that conditioning and now put it in the church. So once you stand for something inside of the church, are you going to? Because you've been so used to like, it's too big of a fight.
Yeah.
It's too big of a fight.
But we need to make that stand.
Yeah, but the question, Chris, is this. Can you make that stand inside of the church if you're not going to make that stand in culture? If in culture you've been conditioned to follow along, and then all of a sudden you're going to say in the church, but I'm not, can you really do that? Think about that, because it's culture conditioning you to make it okay in the church.
Yes.
I mean, is that part of what's happening is that culture is conditioning us to a place that when you go inside of the church, I'm going to fight that one either. That one's too big of a fight.
Yeah.
I'm not going to, what can one person do? You know, and has culture conditioned us in a way that now when we get to the spiritual realm, right? When we get to this place of, vaccination card, I'm not going to really fight it. Mark of the beast, who really cares, right? all this division. Culture tells you to live in harmony. Right now, everything's about if you're not in harmony with everybody, you're an outcast. And anytime you stand for something, you're the one on the outside. Anytime you point at somebody and say that they're wrong, you're wrong. All this division, we want unity. Antichrist comes. I'm going to usher in peace.
He's just waiting for it.
But
gonna
that's
give
my
us
point.
food.
Yeah.
Is it all, until you make a stand in every area of your life, can you separate them? That's my big question. Until you learn to stand for something in every area of your life, can you really stand for something inside of the church? Can you really stand for the biblical truths? I mean, and how easy will that be if everywhere else in our life we just kind of roll over?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so thoughts, Jenny, Chris, Nick, like on what that looks like? And how do we help people? I guess that's the question, right? What are we going to say to people? Because this is just my theory. This is just I think that there is a conditioning going on to prepare you for the future in both ways. So I think the tests of God are to condition you to have faith. Like, I think COVID was a test.
Oh, I do
On
too.
God's side of it. And I think he was going to see where you land on faithfulness. And I think there's a big failure inside of the church of who you trusted.
Absolutely.
Failure, right? So there are tests. We already know this, right? There's tests inside that God allows to happen to build our faith. There's tests inside of culture to see whether you're going to land.
Yeah.
COVID is also a test
Yeah.
to see how willing is the United States of America, who's been free forever, to be under control.
Yeah.
Let's see how they do with little things. Let's see how it works with how you respond to these tests has something to do with what's coming in the future. Because the reason he gave you the test here is I want to build your faith. Because you know why? Because you're going to need it later.
Right.
Something's coming, right? Something's coming in your life where you're going to need that faith
Yes.
to be able to get through it. So he allows those things to happen to build your faith.
Right.
Same concept over here. They're like, oh, wow, they didn't care that much about vaccination cards, so it's going to be easy to,
Yeah.
and easy to. Compared to, like over here, it's withstanding the world that builds your faith, right? It's withstanding the things of the world that builds your faith. That when you are a friend of God, you're an enemy to the world, right? Like that's what it says.
Yeah.
Friend with God, enemy to the world. What we're trying to do is lump it all together. And so that's what I'm trying to get from you guys is what can we do for people to help them? Because I've always been a firm believer. How you operate in culture is how you operate inside of the church, and you can't separate it. Like you just can't. If you're never going to take a stand in culture, you're never going to take a stand in the church. If you're never going to, you know what I mean? Like if you don't have this, like I'm going to, again, if I'm not going to get out of my selfishness when it comes to purchasing decisions in my life, like if I can't even say, listen, I will spend $1 more to not enslave someone.
Right.
I'll spend $1 more, and I will actually drive across town to get free trade coffee from a coffee shop at a place that doesn't enslave people all over the world. And I'm
Right.
going to drive in, and I don't have to go through a drive-through. I'm going to walk into a place, and I'm going to get in. I'm going to come to a place like the Cafe of Hope, who's a business for mission, and be able to give money back. I'm going to make that purchasing decision that's going to cost me my time and cost me more money, because intentionally I'm deciding to go against culture. Because culture says, go to the drive-through, buy the cheapest thing you can get, make it easy as possible. So if you never change it, like if you just make it all about all of that, are you really going to be able to do it when it comes to faith?
No.
Probably not.
Yeah, so what advice do we give to people? Because I always give this advice. I'll just tell you, drive across town. Make your life not easy.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
don't
Yeah.
make a decision on saving $1. Make a decision on saving a life.
There you go.
Yeah.
Don't go somewhere because it's cheaper. That was the whole Walmart discussion.
Yeah.
You know, the reason I go to the mom and pops is because I don't care if it costs me $10 more. It doesn't make me any decision. I don't really care. I'm going to make a decision to have to go 5 different places to keep mom and pops open than to go to one place and save $1 because I convenience.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a cultural conditioning.
Well,
right?
talking about a culture and conditioning, I had to go buy some paint. I needed some primer. I'm working on my cabinets. So before I left home, I checked Ace for the price of the primer, and I checked Walmart. Walmart was $6 more a gallon.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
there's your conditioning.
No, for
because,
sure.
they've always been the lowest price, and they aren't.
But if you read their stuff, like that's not even, they know this. They know the way to get people in is to say that we're the lowest in some areas, and that because you're in one place, that they're going to make their money back up on $6 more on paint. Like they know that. Like again, it goes back to a conditioning.
Yeah.
You know why you're going to buy everything at Walmart? It's convenient.
Yeah.
You think in your mind, this is better. They've conditioned you.
Right.
They've conditioned you to
Exactly.
believe that convenience and a price over here where you could save $1, but you don't really know you're paying $6 more. Right? They've conditioned you to believe, and again, we've fallen into this. The American public has fallen into convenience over conviction forever. Right?
Yeah.
There is no conviction. You don't make any decision on conviction anymore. You make every decision on convenience.
Right.
Right? Scripture tells us make decisions on conviction and not faith is about making decisions on conviction, not convenience. People who go outside of faith, don't have faith, make decisions on convenience and not conviction, right? Like that's what we do. And so that's why I've always said, do you think you can really walk into and be a follower of Jesus Christ when all of your life is lived on convenience and then all of a sudden you're going to just switch it over inside of faith?
No, you can't.
I don't think it's possible. And I think that's how people become lukewarm. I think the way that people become lukewarm is that they just try to take this convenience mindset that they live with 23 hours a day. And then for the 1 hour of Jesus, they've just kind of mended it all together. And because you've given some of your time to Jesus and we've made it all work, then surely I'm okay. Right? But honestly, your decision to come to church was about convenience. Your decision to come to church was on just what you wanted. On your decision on what church you chose was just on what you wanted. And we've created, again, because I've always said, you want to choose Life Church? I would never choose Life Church over convenience. I would never come to Life Church over convenience. Never choose a church because it's something that you like. Choose a church because it's something that helps you be on mission.
Yeah.
Period. But how many people choose a church that's so that you can accomplish the mission that God gave you compared to, well, this one's convenient. I mean, think about it.
Well, like I said, I'm 3 blocks away.
That's right. She did
I didn't mean it that way, Barb.
She did say that.
Barb, I didn't mean it that way.
But, it made me think when you said that. I was
know.
Like, oh, my.
No, but I'm just saying, in general, think about this. Like,
Yeah.
when we're choosing something, I want to choose something that says, I know I can reach my friends here because they can come here. I might not like everything about it, but I know my friends who I'm trying to reach would love it here.
Right.
So I'm going to pick here.
Yeah.
I need to be on mission, or this is a place that helped me accomplish the mission that God has for me. Because, again, the reason that the church struggles so much with transfer around, like people just keep going around, is because a lot of times you picked it on convenience, and when it became inconvenient, you went somewhere else.
Yep.
Right.
Right? Because you didn't
Yeah.
pick the first church you were on a mission. Because if that church was on mission, even if it was inconvenient, you would stay.
I would have stayed.
I know you would. I mean, I know you well enough, and I know Jenny well enough, and I know Nick well enough. We can be inconvenienced as long as it's on mission, right? But we didn't pick it for that reason in the beginning, and so when it became inconvenient, we went to the next place that became more convenient. And so that's the reason that you do that in the church is because that's how you live your life.
Yeah.
Right? That's what we do in our entire life. And somehow we think that it's going to shift just because you chose to go to church. And I'm like, listen, your whole life decision should be made on conviction. Everything that we do should be made on conviction and not convenience. And if you do those things, right, it will transform the way you look at Scripture, the way that you see it, because he's asking you the same thing, and it's not completely foreign. Right, to be able to do that. So we're running out of time. So give some advice, Jenny. So if you're going to give some advice for people in general, right? Like we've talked about a lot today.
Yeah, it has been a lot.
A lot of different
It has
thoughts.
been, yeah.
Well, again, some things to think about, right? Some things to really process, and some things to just, again, thinking outside of the box. And I'm not saying whether these things are true or not true. I believe it.
Right.
I think it's a conditioning. I think some of these tests given by culture are to see how much you'll lay over. I think some of these tests are going to see whether or not this is in the United States of America who used to fight but aren't going to fight anymore. Like we're going to test the waters to see if that's the case, and we're going to get a good idea of what we can and can't do by how they respond to these certain things. We already know that Christ's given us the test to be able to be faithful, and we already know that these two are going to be at odds forever in life, right? So we know a lot of those things, and we know that conditioning happened in the church of Laodicea. That's how they became lukewarm. They accepted it, allowed it, and over time, it just became the normal, and they didn't know any different. They didn't know they were going to hell. They kept going down the road. Just the same concept. Your kids someday taking the mark of the beast might not know that they just sealed their fate. Yeah. Because you allowed them to be conditioned that all these things are okay.
Yeah.
Right? Like, these are just things to think about, right? And things to process, So we know any of these things for sure, but we just know that we should think like this and start processing this. So, Jenny, would you give any advice to our listeners who are listening in today with all of this information? How can they think through their own life to make sure that we don't end up like the church in Laodicea, so we don't just go along with all of the flow, so that we don't end up in places completely deceived and not knowing?
I think just taking a stand, taking that one step, and then eventually it'll just become like normal. I think we've gotten used to dismissing, and I like dismissing because for me, I dismiss things. I completely get them out of my mind, whatever.
Okay, yeah.
But I think the more we get used to it, the more we'll be able to say no.
Okay.
It's just like saying no to anything else. You do, like, some people have a really hard time saying no, me, okay? That's something I've struggled with always, is been able to say no. But the more that you do it, the more it's easier, like, you feel more confident in saying it.
You are conditioning yourself in the right way.
Correct.
Right? You're conditioning yourself to be able, when conflict comes or things come, you're able to err on the side of, even though it's not comfortable, I'm going to go ahead and say no, even though if it causes me discomfort.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
And I think you need to continually be in prayer.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know,
Yeah.
if you're not praying and saying, help me to make sure that I am picking the right thing, that I'm going the right way, constantly we just need to be there and in the Word constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That movie, The War Room.
Ooh,
Yeah,
good movie.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness!
Good
After
movie.
they did that, I took Keely's old bedroom.
Yeah.
And it is now my war room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's just it gives you the ability to have that relationship with Jesus that no other time you can have.
Right.
I mean, it's so important that you have that prayer life with Him, and He'll lead you in the right way.
Yeah.
And I think that's, again, because what you bring up is vitally important.
Yeah.
Because, again, that's inconvenient. To go to a war room is inconvenient. It's a decision to go against culture, right? That is an absolute, when you decide to go in and close the door and go in your closet and seek the Lord and build a relationship with Him, that would solve a lot of problems. This whole other stuff that we're talking about of like the what ifs and the place, if you are in deep relationship with the Lord and you are listening and the Holy Spirit is living inside of you, a lot of these convictions that we should be following will come from Him.
Yeah.
These aren't like, oh, I'm just making him off a whim because I'm a rebel. I don't really care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just making this decision
Yeah.
because I want to go against the flow. Like, you're making this decision because you have a deep conviction about something.
Right.
And that deep conviction came from the Word, and the deep conviction came from God, and the deep conviction is something, because when you have a deep conviction that comes from God, you will not come off of it.
Right.
You won't.
Right.
When you have a conviction of yourself or something that you like or something that you're standing on, people can knock you off.
Yeah.
Right? It might not be easy, but people can knock you off that. And I think that's great advice.
It is,
for people to be able to do that. And it's great advice in like getting to the place where we condition ourselves to be okay to stand up for something.
Yeah.
Right? That's what you're saying, Jenny. Like, it's okay to stand up.
Right.
Right. And that's what I was going to say. For me, I just think it's okay for people to be okay with people not liking you.
Yeah, that's hard.
And
You
it
know.
is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I don't.
You don't care.
But I mean, that's what we did within, like, you even said, if they hate you or if they're like upset with you, then you're doing the right thing, because that verse.
Well,
so
I'll just have to tell you, this was hard in the beginning. So in the beginning of Life Church, when people would leave because of me, and then just so you know, everybody had to make sure they told me that, such and such left.
Well, yeah.
Because of what you said. Like, nobody has any problem telling me that people left because of me. And I was like, oh man, that really hurts, and like, oh man, I wish I would have. And over time, the deeper my conviction got to what God wanted me to say on a Sunday morning, it got to
Yeah.
the place where I don't really care because it's not me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not making these words up.
That's
right.
easier to
You
know that.
I'm okay right now, and I've been at that place for quite a long time because I'm not just making this up. This isn't just a personal opinion. When I'm standing on this front and I'm preaching a message, this is a conviction given to me by God.
Right.
And if you leave over it, I'm going to be okay with that because you're not leaving because of me.
Right.
You're leaving because of the word. Right. And so I'm going to be okay with that. And I already know that I landed on this. If you're going to put yourself in leadership and you are going to take a stand and you are going to stand up for the things of God, you will be hated by the world. And if people aren't leaving, my biggest question is, or maybe you're not saying, maybe you're not preaching, maybe you're not doing. Because
Exactly.
if everybody stays, there might be a problem.
Yeah.
Right? Because if the word says if you stand up for the word that the world will hate you, then there probably should be some evidence of the world hating you.
Right.
Right? Or maybe we're not doing it the way we need to do. So that would be my advice. Like, be okay that people don't like you. Be okay that the world's upset. Nowhere in Scripture does it tell you that he came to bring peace.
He says rejoice when that happens. Rejoice when you have trials or
well,
tribulation.
Jesus just flat out said, I came to bring division.
Yeah.
Father against mother, kids against, because he's like, I'm the truth, and if I am the truth, it will cause division. Right. It just will. Like, that's just the way that it's going to work. And so I've just landed on the fact my job was never to bring harmony.
Yeah.
My job was never to bring peace. My job was to bring the word of God, and it'll produce whatever it's supposed to produce. Sometimes harmony and sometimes division. Right? But that's just the way that it works.
I think if you understand that it's not you that they're hating and it's him, then you're in the right place and you'll be able to stand up and make those decisions to not conform.
Right. Yeah. And then the last thing I would leave us with is just think about your own life and think how many decisions you make out of convenience and not out of conviction. Just evaluate it.
A ton.
No, I'm just saying evaluate it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's wrong to evaluate it and just flat out see why. Because again, how hard would it be for you to make some of those, and how much of that will change for you when you start actually making a decision, a thoughtful decision based upon conviction compared to convenience, and how much will that carry over into your faith? And I say that it does. I say when you make conviction decisions over convenience decisions, I think it affects the way you follow the Lord. I just think it makes you more thoughtful about making decisions out of conviction. Makes you more thoughtful about doing what the Holy Spirit tells you to do because it's inconvenient.
Right.
And if you've lived your whole life for convenience and he tells you to do something, you're going to be like, oh, I'm not doing that. Because you've not trained yourself to do anything that's inconvenient. Start training yourself. Start training yourself in culture to do things that are inconvenient and more on conviction. So make a list of things that you do that are all out of convenience and make a decision of whether or not you can change some of those things over time.
I feel like you're training two ways, either for God or away from him.
Yeah, for sure.
There's only two.
And a good way to find out where your convictions are is go back to your checkbook and look to see where you're spending your money.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you're going to McDonald's every other day, that's probably not a good thing.
Again, most of the things that were created in our culture today were all created because we live in a world of convenience.
Yeah.
So the reason that some of these companies are billion-dollar companies is because it's convenience.
Oh,
They just cater to your convenience.
That's what my job is all about.
It's convenience.
No, yes, seriously, because people don't want to have to come, so I go to them.
Yeah.
And
we've created a world of convenience. So all we need to think about is that when you can make purchasing decisions or time decisions based upon conviction and not convenience, I think it'll help you in your faith. Yeah. So Jenny, end us up. So we did have one question. We just have to.
We did have one.
Quick.
Yeah, we should ask
that.
It is good. It's a good question.
Because before we get there, Nick, remember how people can submit questions. So Jenny shows that because we're at the end.
Yep. So questions, comments, if anything sparked an interest or sparked something fiery, something inside your soul you want to have a debate or conversation about, text our phone number, podcast. So this is so you can get it in our group.
Yeah.
Because eventually we'll have more groups. But text 260-408-8383.
Yeah, and so they can send questions for our guests.
Anything.
They can send comments. Same thing if you're on our YouTube. We'd love for you to leave comments. There so we can have discussions on YouTube. If somebody's looking at that and monitoring it. Or send in specific questions for our guests, which is, the question came in and it is...
Great question.
Great question. Who is your
Who's
favorite?
It from?
Wait, yeah.
It's from Keely Oswald. She says, "Who is your favorite kid?" LOL. Just kidding. It's my mama.
But wait, what is your answer?
So go ahead, Barb.
Yeah,
Why don't you tell us
what is your
favorite
answer?
date is?
So I told these guys I was going to say it's Lisa, my daughter-in-law, but but it's all of
Cute.
them.
Oh, that's such a typical mother.
Yeah,
Way to go, Mom.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard not to,
The
it's hard.
diplomatic
same.
answer. We love you all the same.
It's not the
We're
truth,
not playing
though.
No, I don't love
favorites.
them all the same. I love them all differently, but I love them all.
Okay, that's good. All right, so again, we just thank everybody for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for inviting
Chris,
me.
for coming on. We just love hearing your insight and love that the things that God's doing in your life, that He's going to continue to use you, in amazing ways. And we're glad that we can put this podcast together. And again, as we continue to evolve this and we continue to see what God wants us to do, we're excited about the reach that we can have. And so when Jenny puts stuff out on Facebook, share it. That's a big thing for us. If you can share it with other people and get that link. Having comments on our YouTube is great. Gives us an opportunity to interact with you. We want you to listen and or watch and be able to share with other people. So thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.